Caleb, thank you very much for making the time to do this. I've been looking forward to this for a while. Um, how are you doing?
Man, doing well. Training camp's going good, and just locked in on the 31st. Big fight and a lot at stake. So looking to you know make sure that we leave no stone unturned in preparation. That way, we ensure that we put on a big show on May 31st and get a win in impressive fashion, put a show on, and get the fans what they want.
You have become one of the most popular, beloved fighters in the world in the last 2, 3 years. Not just for what you do in the ring, but the stuff you've done out of the ring. You're kind of boxing's enforcer now.
I mean, I try to handle my business inside the ring, and I like to be left alone outside the ring. So as long as people leave me alone, I leave them alone.
And I suppose that's part of the thing, right? Because everyone wants to be the guy in the world that would stand their ground, and not everyone is that guy, are they?
I mean, I feel like that's an individual question for each individual, but as far as I'm concerned, I was raised a certain way by my grandfather and my father, and they stand on certain principles as far as what they believe and how they believe they should be treated. And being bullied or harassed is not high on our list of things that we like. And so if I ask somebody to leave me alone, it's not really a request. You know what I'm saying? It's a demand. So,
Sure. And I suppose the thing is, in this day and age, right, people and the sport and the climate of sport, not just boxing, it kind of demands that you have a personality, a social media following, you create some viral moments. So while it might not be something that you've looked for, it's definitely sort of helped build the brand, right? Indirectly.
mm, I mean, perhaps. I've never. I guess you could say that. I've never really thought too much about it or thought of it like that because obviously in those moments I'm not looking to build my brand. I'm looking to get my point across when I can't seem to get it across verbally. So, but yeah, I guess everybody out there likes to believe that they would stand their ground and take up for themselves, defend themselves if somebody is bullying them, harassing them, or their family, their kids, their wife, whatever it may be. So yeah, maybe people like to see themselves in me through scenarios like that, perhaps.
Have you noticed the uptick in popularity?
Since some of these things,
Yeah.
uh, I'd like to think it's from more of what I've done in the ring, but I'm sure some of it has to do with me standing my ground in other scenarios. So, but I haven't really given that a whole lot of thought, honestly.
Sure. I did speak to Stephen Edwards relatively recently, and he obviously called you a man of principle, which is something you've obviously just said there. What led you to Bread and your partnership with him?
Yeah, just after the Canelo fight, a role that needed to be filled, and Brett is someone that I've always admired from afar, and we've known each other for some time. I've picked his brain and asked him about boxing questions that I wanted to see where his head was at and things I wanted to know. I always liked his answers. I've always been a big fan of Julian Williams. I feel like he's always been a super crafty fighter and always had a huge bag of tricks. And also knew that he was a young trainer or a younger trainer, someone who would probably who was eager and wanted to prove themselves. Sometimes older trainers have not much left in the tank and they're just kind of like they don't really care no more. But Brett, he's the opposite of that. He cares. He wants to win, and he'll go to the end of the earth, to get the job done. And I'm the same type of way. Um, and I'm always looking to put my best foot forward. And since we've linked up, we've had great chemistry from the beginning, and I feel like we've done some great things together. So.
What have been the biggest changes in terms of how you're preparing and the work that you're doing?
um, I wouldn't say it's just one thing or even, a lot of big things. It's the small things in boxing that get you the furthest. And so I'm not going to go into big detail, but just a lot of the small things that I feel like or that there were some small things that could needed to be added to my game. One, obviously the inside work. I feel like I showed that in my last fight, how much that is developed. And a lot of that has to do with Brad, and a lot of that has to do with my dad too, because between fights, I travel to Philly here and there, and he'll come to Vegas here and there. But for the most part, it's been me and my dad in the gym grinding every day. And Brad will pass him the notes, and my dad will follow those notes, but he's also adding his own twist to it. And my dad has a certain way that he likes to go about things, and him and my dad have great chemistry as well. And so that's been a blessing as well, because sometimes when two trainers aren't on the same page and they don't have good chemistry, and old heads get to arguing and not seeing eye to eye, that can be bad chemistry, that can be bad for the team. So um him and my dad are always reiterating the same things, and it's just good chemistry, like I said.
He's also said about like you sparring more. Obviously, you've not been super active the last couple of years, so he wants you sort of in the gym and getting the work in the ring. Is that
Yeah.
something you enjoy? Is that a part of the sport that you do enjoy getting in and
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I love sparring. Sparring is the best part. You put all the work in, and you go to all the physical recovery and massage therapy, and eating right and sleeping right, and putting your best foot forward on everything so you can spar good. And then you spar good so you can fight good. So um I really enjoy sparring. And he's upped the sparring a lot, on a day-to-day basis for me, year round. So I feel like that's helped me.
Sure. You mentioned your dad there. What was the very first time you went into a boxing gym? That wasn't the makeshift one that he
Uh
created at home, right?
say again.
That wasn't the gym he created at home. Did you, or was it another gym that you went to?
It was another gym I went to. A lot of people won't be familiar with this area, but it was close to the Rivergate area, um, where I'm from. And there was a boxing gym out there, Donnie Broadway, and there was a boxer named Lauren Ross, who used to be on the Army team back in the day, Ross the Boss. And man, he was super smooth. He had a great boxing IQ and was just really smart. And he's the one who really like planted the seed of my dad's brain to, because my dad was a fighter as well, but his defense wasn't really all that. And my dad wanted me to have good defense. And when he took me to Lauren Ross, and the things that Lauren first started showing me, and how to box, how to move, my dad kind of took that and ran with it. And then we wound up having our own gym back home, kind of a small rinky dink gym, how you alluded to. And because I've spoken of it before. And um, man, get off school, 2:45. I'd be in there about 3:15, and I'd be in there from 3 o'clock, 3:15 to 10:30 at night, 6 days a week, from the age of 9 to till I was out of school for sure. And obviously it just has picked up from there, but that was my sanctuary. That was my safe place. Not liking my home scenario very much, and it's pretty chaotic, and just feeling like a nobody, really. And then because of how much time I spent in the gym, it's like I surpassed my peers pretty quickly. And now all of a sudden I'm this kid in the gym who even like grown folks are looking up to, like, man, I want to be like him. Man, I wish I could do this. I wish I could do that like him. And now it's like, man, all of a sudden I'm somebody, and I'm somebody people want to be like. And then I leave the gym and I go back to being like somebody that nobody wants to be. And I don't get to have that or feel that until I get back in the gym. And it just became this addictive drug for me, where it's the only thing I wanted to do. It's the only thing I thought about. And it's the only place I wanted to be. And it's like, in the real world, you can't always control what goes on. And But in that boxing gym, in that boxing ring, I have a lot of control. I have a lot of say so of what can happen, what can go on. I can dictate a lot of things. And I just fell in love with that.
At what point did you realize that boxing would be your ticket to a better life?
9 years old, 9 years old, that's why I want to be a world champion. All I want to do is fight. And I played little league football too. I was really good. And I was doing that like simultaneously, but I always liked fighting more. And then when I started football when I was like 7. And once I got to my freshman year before school started, we did the summer practice for the high school before my freshman year. And my when school was about to start, my dad was like, "Hey, buddy, you need to pick one. I know you've been playing football a long time. I know you love it. I know you've been fighting a long time and you love it, but high school ball is going to be very demanding. Obviously, fighting is very demanding too. So you can't be great at everything. You need to pick one." And I was never really good at school. I didn't like school, and I come from a small town. Wasn't There weren't like a lot of big recruits, and I was like, man, I just want to box. I just want to fight. And but ever since I was 9 years old, that's really all I wanted to be, what I wanted to do. And my
So,
dad will tell you that's God's honest truth. I knew since I was 9 years old, like, man, this is what's going to be for me.
did you think you could make it out of there? Given the upbringing, did you think, guys from here don't make it, or did you think, no, I'm going to be the one, I'm going to be the outlier?
I'm gonna be the one. I always knew I was going to be the one. Even in it was middle school, my teacher came around. I wasn't doing my work. I was filling out my autograph on a piece of paper. I fill up the whole sheet, turn it over. I fill up the whole sheet with my autograph on the front and back. My teacher would come around. What are you doing? I was like, I'm practicing my autograph. I'm gonna be a world champion one day. She's like, well, what if boxing don't work out? You need a plan B. I said, no, boxing is gonna work out. I don't need a plan B. I'm gonna be a world champion. And that same teacher, I fought in Nashville at the Bridgestone Arena in 2020 to defend my world title. And she put a status on social media saying that story. I told him filling out his autograph. I told him he needed a plan B. And he told me, no, I don't. Boxing is going to work. And sure enough, if he didn't go out there and become world champion. So for some reason, like in my heart, no matter what was going on in my life, I just always had this thing in my chest, like pulling me towards it, saying, no matter what, if you keep going, you're going to make it. And a lot of times that feeling kept me up at night. Sometimes it's exhausting. And I still have that feeling in my chest, like, just keep going, just keep going, just keep going. It's been exhausting so many times because it like keeps me up at night. And it's just like ongoing. It never goes away. But I just always knew, like, man, this is going to work out.
She could have sold that autograph or the thing with loads of your autographs on eBay. She could have done well with that.
She could have.
You've obviously shared a good bit in the past about your life and the loss that you've experienced and the losses you've experienced. How big a part of those experiences, and I do want to refer to obviously your mum and your daughter. How big are those experiences in terms of the man that you are now, and how you've become? And I suppose you talked there about almost being a little bit vulnerable. I was going to ask, do you feel bulletproof, but clearly not, right?
I mean, those are two experiences that I've shared, but there's a whole book of experiences, that I haven't shared that are, I'm sure a lot of other people go through, but other experiences that may stop people from getting where they're headed. Um, but like I said, for some reason, I just always had this super strong feeling in my chest, in my heart, in my head that said, "Man, this is going to work. This is going to work. Just keep going. Just keep going." And I feel like those experiences, the ones I've shared and the ones that I haven't, they've prepared me. They've strengthened me. They've made me tough. They made me, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And anytime I fell short outside of the ring or inside the ring, I never felt like, man, I'm a step further away. I always felt like, man, I'm a step closer now. I'm a step closer. And yeah, I think those experiences definitely toughened me and made me the man that I am today and made me strong enough to have the attitude and the mindset and the fortitude that I have to no matter what, man, you gotta keep pressing on. You gotta keep putting one foot in front of the other.
And I suppose,
Tris, if you'll be so kind, sorry to interrupt, sir. If you'll be so kind as to do one or two last questions, please.
okay,
Thank you.
sure, sure. Um, yeah, okay. So tell me about Rosendez and what you know about him heading into the fight in May.
Just that, this is his moment. And I remember what it was like for me in my first big moment, and how bad I wanted it and how much I knew, like, man, if I get over this hump, if I get through this, which I know I will, then man, my life's going to change forever. And I'm assuming that he's feeling the same way. And so I know how much he wants it, but it's not his time. It's not his moment. This isn't his story. This is my story. And May 31st, I'm gonna step on him for trying to mess up everything that I work towards. And I'm gonna step on him.
The way the show's packaged, it looks like you and Charlo are in this head to head. It looks like they're going to try and get to that. Is that something that you embrace and is in some ways overdue, right?
Uh, it's not something I'm too much thinking about right now. There's been so many fighters who have been in the same situation. It's like they put them on the same card. They both win that fight. Then they got the super fight. They got the mega fight. And there always seems to be, not always, but too many times where one person is focusing on that big fight and not the fight in front of them. All fights are big fights. All fights are tough fights. There are no easy fights. There are fights you can make easy, but no fight is easy. And training camp isn't easy. And the sacrifices aren't easy. So I need to focus on the task in front of me right now. I need to focus on the fight in front of me. I'm going to step on him May 31st, and then there will be plenty of time to talk about Charlo, think about Charlo, prepare for Charlo, whatever the situation, the case may be. But right now, I need to focus on the task at hand, because focus is what gets the job done.
Would you also like to step on Charlo though?
I am. If he makes it to the ring, I'll step on him too.
Okay.
And I done stepped on him once. I'll step on him again.
Okay. Guys, thank you so much for taking the time to do it. Caleb, I could have gone on all night. Thank you so much, man. That's
Oh,
great
man,
stuff.
appreciate you.
All right.
Yeah,
Thanks, guys.
appreciate